Alright, so in today's video, we are watching a Plat 2 tank, formerly Diamond 4. And what we're really looking at this one is this the tank experience in Season 9. The tank experience in Season 9 has been it's been quite a talked about subject, right? Where tanking in Season 9 feels like it's a lot more difficult than any other season. Which, I mean, isn't, like, necessarily wrong. Tanking has gotten a little bit more difficult. They say they feel like whenever they play tank, they're forced to just keep swapping heroes, and same for the enemy tank. To give you an idea, they also are talking about the 50-50. As of around this video, they were currently 92 and 92 this season, which is exactly 50-50. So, we're going to try to see what they can do better as a tank. Obviously, we've had a little bit more practice on tank this season. So yeah. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube, all the YouTubes, leave a comment, all that. Let's find out. All right, let's do this. Let's see how this tank plays. And I've heard the discussion a lot about, like, I think one thing right now is to talk about, you feel like you have to swap all the time as tank. I haven't necessarily felt that yet, but I think that's because, like, there's just, like, if I tried swapping so much as tank in, like, the top 500 games right now, it would kind of lose, like, ult economy, which is basically where, like, ult economy in Overwatch is essentially where you want to save your ults, and I find that if I overswap, then the other team will just always have that slight advantage. But I mean, obviously, in certain ranks, that's not really going to matter as much, right? This is just the classic, your team got dove by a Winston, half your team's dead, you trade it out. There's nothing you can really do in this spot outside of just try to, like, die on the cart. I feel like at this point, if you stay up on the high ground for too long, then unless you disengage out through the doorway behind you, okay, you're fine then. That's why your Life Weaver pulled you away. Yeah, I mean, so far, chat on screen. So far, like, there hasn't been, like, anything too difficult to see here on this, right? I'd say break that bubble. Yeah, so far this has been pretty chill. At the beginning, that is. What rank are they? Plat 2, and they were formerly in Diamond. So, I don't know, Plat or Diamond, however you want to look at it, depending. Watching. Yep, Rock. This is something. They're gonna have Winston ult soon. I've been face tanking them for a while. They got beat. Oh, I love how I say they're gonna have Winston ult, and I wasn't even looking at the ult. Yeah, they have Winston ult. Wait for it. I mean, like, you know, the funny part about this is, like, I think some people will look at this and be like, what about target priority? The problem is that I feel like on Shambali, target priority becomes so difficult because there's so many ways to hide on both sides. That's why, if you've ever played Shambali, have you ever noticed that? Actually, I don't know. I guess it can be rank dependent, but, like, quite frequently, the map gets held right here. And the reason being is, you know how some maps have, like, no cover or very limited cover? Shambali first point's the opposite. Shambali first point is the exact opposite. It's like there's cover everywhere. So you like, target priority here becomes who can you do damage to, right? Because some people might be like, well, hey, what you should do there is go run at the Brig and the Life Weaver. You know what's going to happen if you do that? You're going to fall over. Why? Because you're going to be out of LOS. Yeah, well, you know, stop shooting at the Winston. Yeah, but unfortunately, the Winston's playing the cart. So if you stop shooting at the Winston's just going to grind the Sigma down, or go into the back line because they have an ultimate that can survive that. So you get stuck here as a tank where, like, you just have to sit here on the cart and do nothing. Because it's just how this map is. If you go too far, you're going to fall over. Obviously, if you have your ultimate, it's a little bit different. You can lean in with your ult. But then guess what? What happens if you ult against their team comp? Well, I got some news for you. They got a Life Weaver. So what happens when you use your ultimate against Life Weaver? Life Weaver has 3 ways to prevent your ultimate. 1, pedal. 2, tree. 3, pulling your target out of the ult. So, it's not going to be easy on that side of things either. I find that Life Weaver has, well, there goes that one option. They can't use that there. I find that Life Weaver, or you just ult the wall. Yeah. Right, I didn't have that option on there because I didn't think that was going to be what was happening. Yeah, you're going back to spawn real quick. There goes the Brig. Keep in mind, you notice how the Brig LOS their teammates because they went around the corner? And there you go. Yeah, I don't know. It's so far it's tough to say to give you like really like, oh, you gotta do this, gotta do that. I mean, you're playing Shambali, you're in the right spot. I don't mind the D.Va swap here because they're running the Winston comp. Some will argue, well, what about the Brig? I'm not too worried about the Brig in this comp. I think like the Brig will be good. I'm just like, that's not like my main concern here as D.Va. Mo, in this situation, when you swap the D.Va, especially on retake, you need to go in with more of a defensive mindset because like if you can't trade like immediately, which wasn't gonna happen there, the best thing you do is keep your teammates alive at that point, right? Again, at that point, the best thing that you can do as a tank is try to keep your teammates alive to kind of sustain. If you ever watch like different team fights or different like scenarios that happen, like if you're watching the recent matches, a lot of the time you can go there with one person and then delay just enough for everybody to get back. But as you get back, you're prioritizing more like keeping your teammates alive. So in that situation, you could have actually saved your... I forgot what hero they were on. They just swapped. Maybe it was the Reaper. Instead, you kind of like target focus. But like so far, like I haven't had too much definitive stuff I can give you. And like truthfully, talking about the tank experience, like tanking for you's been fine. You've been surviving for quite a bit, etc. So like, I'll see how the rest of this goes and what your decision making is, like on D.Va especially. All right, that Winston doesn't know what to do with all 4 damage. Oh, I probably would. You go break bubble, break bubble. Okay, what's your plan? Play corners. Play corners. This peel's okay. Now you're fine. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to look at very quickly. This is the first thing I want to look at. You got stuck in that indecisive mode, right? It's the mode where you sit there in the middle and you watch them dive your backline, but then you also watch their backline sit there and stare at you, and then you go, what do I do? And then eventually you decide to go and make a play, right? Then eventually you decide to go make a play, and then you go, oh, what do I do? So then instead of being like with one of these team fights, you're just in the middle going, well, you know what? I had fun. That's what happens there, right? So this is where I talk about, as a tank player especially, you need to be decisive in those situations. You'll hear me explain it on stream sometimes where I'm like, yep, I just was indecisive. I didn't do anything. You need to do something there. Like, you just need to do one of those things. I will say, I did see somebody in the chat say, you can't peel Primal as a D.Va. Just trade backlines. This is why Overwatch is situational. There's actually an opportunity for you to actually peel a backline there. Your peel is actually your damage. You have a Zenyatta. A discorded Winston against a D.Va can get shredded. Your burst damage and like your ability just to get on them when they're discorded actually is a very capable strategy. So trading backlines doesn't necessarily become the go-to play there. So you have the option to trade in backlines, but they're going to have ults to be able to survive that. So in that situation, actually, when they have a discorded Winston, you can peel for the Winston fairly easily. If they're not discorded, that's a little bit different, but when they turn around, you can see that they were discord. So, and you do have time to peel. If you look where the Life Weaver tree is, and where the card is, you have plenty of time. That's why I was kind of showcasing this high ground. So, like, this goes back to what we're talking about tank. You're in this spot as tank where you need to be even more decisive now with what you do when a team fight starts, but you also need to play hide and seek half the time, right? So it's almost like not only has your position and had a swap in Season 9 as a tank, your decision-making almost has to be quicker because you can't take poke damage much anymore, right? And if you stay there for too long, your teammates end up getting rolled, or vice versa. So you have to be very, very quick on some of that decision-making now, which is, I don't know if they necessarily expected that, but that's kind of where tank is at a little bit. Obviously, with the mid-season patch coming today, obviously this video, I don't even know when this video is going out. It could be today. It could be when the patch is already out. The passive is going to do 5% less now on the DPS passive, which is 20 to 15%. I don't know how that will go. I still feel like it might be tough. But we'll see. I'm going to give it like, we can just see, and then they can make more changes. Anyway, sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant there, or not a rant, but like a discussion. Basically, as a tank, you need to be a lot more decisive now. If you find that you're not as decisive on some of these plays right now as a tank, that's totally okay. That's happening all the way from bronze to top 500 to matches. Tanks, the decision-making just is in a spot with tank where, like, there's a lot less of just sitting there and getting stuck that you need to do. And when you don't do that, this is what like you just do nothing. All right, so you made a Winston swap. Okay, then you went to Mauga. That was quick. Hello from YouTube. Hello. Hi, everybody. You said you were worried about cart. A little bit of side note on that. It's all about where the cart is, right? The cart, you had plenty of time. You were totally fine. Yeah, that's about as much as Winston as I play when I'm on Winston. Okay, so they went Orisa, you went Mauga. I mean, not Orisa, you went Mauga and they went Orisa. I mean, like, you mentioned you feel like both tanks have to swap a lot, things like that, but like, one, I don't think a lot of people even like playing Winston on third point Shambali. So they may have made this swap regardless of what your swap was. So yeah, Mauga, is an interesting swap here. Keep on your position, by the way. I want to point out, I remember how I talked about how, like, you don't want to take too much poke damage. First of all, I have no idea why your Zenyatta just ulted. At the same time, you are on Brig Zen and you're playing in the middle of the open. So, that's not a good Zen ult, but... Do you see the indecisiveness by you? Like, you mentioned tanking and how, like, oh, you know, 50-50 and like, all this thing. And like I said, I do agree that tank has shifted in playstyle, but, like, you're sitting in the middle of the open with a Brig Zen comp, okay? You cannot take poke damage. For anybody wondering what I'm talking about with poke damage, all right? Poke damage is like taking 20 damage here, 20 damage there. And you go, well, if I can't take poke damage, and I can't take burst damage, then what are you supposed to do? Exactly. Welcome to tanking. Good luck.
Switching sides.
It's up a notch.
Initiating match.
Position, and the number one thing you're going to want to work on for any tank player right now is going to be the position. I'm telling you, you stand in the middle of the open there. That's also why it's important to recognize the supports that you have, too. When you have Brig Zen, you got to play corners. Heck, if you had a Jericho Zen, you probably still have to play corners. You can get out of it. Oh, with your rank, you mentioned. When's the patch? Today at 2 p.m. Eastern. Here we go. Or Brig Zen makes that way, you just can't keep up with the heals. Brig Zen's more of a comp that's designed around high damage output around the Discord orb and allowing your making your Brig and Zen unkillable. So the tank has to not do that. Yeah, you're just right now, like, and I know that, like, the focus on tank, etc. But if you, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you made a play like that in Season 8, it'd be the same thing that's happening in Season 9, right? Right now, you have your decision making is very indecisive. So when you make a play, you're just making a play to make a play. You're not actually doing anything. Like, you just dove in there and got rolled. Now you're back to Diva. Here we go. I don't mind the Diva swap here. Remember, use cover. You're minimizing the amount of damage that you're taking. This is not minimizing damage. You have a doorway bottom left. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Wait. Give it 2 seconds. You don't have to. Just give it a second. Ball's dead. Go to the corner again. Hide. Okay, you can go in because of the Kitsune. Remember, okay? I want to talk about this with a lot of tank players because I see this happening constantly with tank players in general. And this is something that I'm still, you know, like I said, we're still trying to improve on. You have more HP now, okay? You ready? We're gonna do a little bit of a thing here on your HP. You have more HP now, so the tendency by players is to get back into the team fight before they're at full HP or around full HP. Two things. One, yes, you have more HP, but it takes a lot longer to get you healed up because of the passive from the DPS. So let's say that before you had 625 HP and you got healed up in Season 8, it was a lot easier to get you there. Now what happens is players get to 500 HP, get healed up to the old HP, go, oh, that was my old HP, go in, get rolled. But like that's because there's less healing happening to you overall. So if you don't give it time for both the passive to fall off you, which is 2 seconds, as well as for your supports to get you to a good HP, you're going to fall over or feel like you can't play. That is something I've had to learn through Season 9, is that like the HP pool of where you're at's a lot different than it used to be. And you have to kind of like, sometimes you just have to just stand there and do nothing. In which, as a tank player, obviously you want to do more than that. But yeah. Like I say, it's definitely a play style. So. Yep. Oh yeah, in theory, I mean, it like, outside of maybe like Wrecking Ball, and you could say Winston here too, like you could, for almost every tank, you could have just play good position and as a priority and then learn how to play off of that. I mean, it's not necessarily recommended, you want to make plays and stuff, but like, as a starter point, yeah, I mean, just playing any tank you play with the same positioning may not be bad. That's a D.Va ult that you used. Got on a limb, we take those. Oh, you know what I'm saying about this part of the map chat where it's all about cover? The team that decides not to use that cover is usually the team. Oh, nice eat. Good job. Good job peeling for your team.
I feel all warm inside.
So. Wait for it. Bum, bum, bum. I gotta pause for a second. I'm sorry, I have to segue to this very quickly because I've seen the person in the chat arguing. Okay, so to the person in the chat who says they've only been playing Overwatch for a month and then is telling everybody they're wrong about what their like opinions are on like heroes and how they play, here's the problem: is that people have been playing it for a while at that point too, right? So you just saying that, oh, based off of your experience, all these heroes are this way and that's it, and everybody else is wrong? Do you see the problem with that one? Like, the thing is, you could all be right in the situation because the way that you experience the game is going to be different from everybody else. Telling people it's only that way to specifically. You say, but most of the chatters aren't Master 4 on tanks. So do you want me to chime in then? Because then I could counter-argue with you at that point. I don't think we want to do that. So, the thing is like, everybody's going to have a different experience in, like, the ranks that they play. So just telling people, what rank am I in tank? I think like rank 20 right now or something. So like, you telling people that their experience in silver against this tank is not correct because you play Masters 4 against Zarya isn't the way to go about that, right? Which characters do I think are the best tanks right now? I think it's pretty much argued that Reinhardt and Mauga are the two top tanks, and then Roadhog right after that. So I'm trolling?
Emongg.
I feel like there's a rotation of really good tanks right now. Like, you just named off all the tanks that we saw in matches over the week, which, yeah, I mean, those tanks are pretty good. I think we're in a meta right now where people are struggling to find the right tanks in general. D.Va's pretty good right now. D.Va's fallen out of the meta a little bit. Ever so slightly, because, like, it's kind of shifted. So it started with, he said Sigma's good too, but why play Sigma when Zarya exists? So okay. I don't know how long we should stay in this subject because I have 3 spectators to record on a treadmill, so I'm going to be here. I'm going to burn an extra 100 calories just talking about this. Okay, here we go. Zarya's pretty good. To your discussion about how Zarya's the most OP tank, etc., I'm not going to quite go there yet. I know you're seeing Zarya played in a lot of matches, but to give you an idea, the rotation behind the reason why Zarya's being played more in matches now is because if they didn't want to play the Doomfist comp, people shifted to the Zarya comp, right? Because Zarya is there to defend, like, their Cassidy in the team comp. So you run Zarya against that comp, and then other comps can run over the Zarya comp because Zarya is very susceptible to a lot of burst damage. So even though you're talking about how OP Zarya is and you just got a bubble, once you run out of your bubbles, a lot of players will be able to just roll the Zarya, right? Positives to Zarya is that you do have the ability to get rid of the passive by bubbling. So obviously you have that, but a lot of Zaryas in the matches are using it to defend their Cassidy, because a lot of them play the Cassidy comp. So you just bubble your Cassidy when they die the cast, making the cast unkillable, which then the Zarya will benefit from the Cassidy being able to make the plays, right? We've seen this when I play with Wanted, right? I keep Wanted alive, it enables Wanted to pop off, then I go and pop off too after, because I'm enabling my teammate. Zarya is one of those heroes that enables people. Now, don't get me wrong, in a Masters 4 game, you can absolutely run it down mid as Zarya and do well, right? Just like in any rank game, but it's a little bit different for each rank. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if you look across the ranks, If somebody in bronze is telling you that they play against Zarya and have no problem against Zarya, that doesn't mean they're incorrect because that's the experience they're having in bronze. If you just get so hard locked on your rank and say that everybody else is wrong and every other rank based off of that, the ranks change based off of tiers. That's why whenever I do a spectating, I don't just automatically take into account my top 500 games and say that's how it's supposed to be played because it can't be because it's different, right? The teamwork I get in top 500 is going to be way different than somebody else in bronze. You know what I'm saying? That's why when I do spectating videos, I have to kind of look at it differently based off of matches. So are we ready to move on? I'm just vibing, Capstone. Don't worry about it, dude. The point I'm making here is while you're having the experience, and we're going to summarize and we'll get back to the video, okay? When you have your experience in Masters and you're telling people, no, that's not the case in other ranks, the thing is that your ranks will change differently. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure I even will do that sometimes when I'm doing spectatings, right? And I understand that. But you have to kind of be open to the idea that the person in chat who's in gold talking to you about how, no, like, I roll as Zarya, it doesn't mean they're inherently, incorrect. It's just their experience is different than yours. Which is why you need, it's like meeting halfway, right? Meeting in the middle. Rather than just like, oh, I'm correct because of this. You know what I'm saying? All right, anyway. Back to the video. So yeah, right here, what you need to do is you need to have your teammates all... No, good job getting the ball. Zenyatta definitely will be a target for you now, especially with Zenyatta being shifted, but like, it's all about recognizing where you're at on the map. Here we go. They went Zarya now. Remember, oh, well, they're on Zarya now, so you gotta be careful. Zarya Sim, actually, you're gonna have to swap. Zarya, I don't mind staying on Diva. Sim, Zarya, could be a bit more difficult. Yeah, you just flew into their team. Decisiveness. Okay, their Zarya fell over first during that team fight. Immediately fell over. Nice job. You know what? I gotta say, there is just something great about watching a Zarya after that whole discussion. About watching the Zarya after the whole discussion. Run it down to the point, fall over to a Diva comp, and then just go back to spawn. They died to a Moira Orb. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a very small sample size, isn't the case with Zarya, but it was just so funny after that whole discussion. Was the Zarya just getting rolled? I love that timing on that one. Oh, man, that was great. Keep in mind, every rank plays differently. So, obviously, the position they were at... my point is... Okay, anyway, let's continue on.
I offer something more.
All right, here we go.
Back in action.
I would recommend if this doesn't go well swapping off. I don't know what your hero pool would be next on the rotation, but I think it'd be pretty good. Good job focusing the ult out. Stick with your team. They don't have grab. You don't have to worry about that. Play behind cover here, by the way. I think sometimes people have a tendency when there's a sim wall to just not play behind cover because they're like, oh, it's a sim wall, right? So. Yeah, you're probably going to have to swap. Your ultimate won't be worth it. I mean, I say that now. It feels bad because, like, I think you can make that work, but, like, the problem is that... Okay, hit tab. Yeah, swap. No, hit tab. Swap. I know what you see. I'm waiting to see. Oh, okay, it's fine.
Love the Zarya swap.
The other team...
Then
the other team swapped to Bastion. Can you get drops here? Not yet, but, I mean, during mid-season, sometimes there is drops, so we'll see. Yeah. I think Faulty was just trying to add to the... Alright, here we go. Remember, the reason why I wanted you not to go Winston was because you're going against a Bastion. So the idea here, and this is... I'm going to see how this team fight goes for you. Because maybe you win it and you don't get shredded. But I want to explain something here because I know why you went Winston. Okay. This is something. Good job getting out. I want to point this out because I want to pause. This is why I always talk about the tank versus tank matchups. So people get so hard focused on like what the other tank is, so you're constantly trying to counter the tank specifically off of their hero, but then you don't look at the rest of their comp. Now, don't get me wrong. I think you can make it work here against what they're running, but like, you go, oh, they have a Zarya? I'm diving the Zarya, I'm going for the Zarya, but they have a Bastion. You see what I'm saying? So, what ends up happening is you run into this rotation of you only try to counter the tank, but then at the same time, they're also countering you to begin with, and you're going to lose that value against the Zarya. Now, say they're running even Cassidy, Sojourn right now. Now your pick is 10 times better, right? Because you're able to isolate the Zarya, get the follow-up, but the Bastion kind of creates an issue there because they can shred your bubble quicker than most heroes, right? So, yep. Remember, you don't just... Sometimes when you play tank, you're not just countering. You might win this, actually. I say that now, but, like, your team might win this. Because your Bastion popped off, which is also good against the Zarya. Bubble. You can bubble the ult. Nice. Good job. Hey, it worked out. Listen, that's what I mean. I gotta let some of these team fights happen and how things are played. Like, it worked out. Not bad. Good job. All right. Here we go. Am I on a treadmill? Yes.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
What about the decision game where your tank is the most balanced against the whole team but loses the tank matchup? Then like, okay. You're saying, hey, if you're playing Diva and they have a Zarya, but your matchup in general is fine, what do? Then stop playing the way you're playing against Zarya there. Why is Zarya able to shred you as Diva if you're playing right in front of the Zarya? You see? It's a playstyle adjustment, right? You're so hard focused on like, oh, well, the other tank is good against me, but that's the thing is like, I will have success against a Zarya as Diva if I play the way that I should play against the Zarya, right? So if the argument is your teammates are doing well matchup-wise, but then it comes down to the tank versus tank, you need to make adjustments if the team fight is working to begin with, right? That's why Overwatch is so situational. I can't give you like the exact blueprint to how you want to play against that because you could have these exact same team comps, right? Team 1 with like Orisa right there. With the Orisa, this team comp could win 5 out of 10 games, and then the same team comp in a different rank or a different game loses 5 out of 10, right? So a lot of that's going to be about decision making, which that's why I say like you just need to get into the practice as tank as of right now. I'm sure they'll make changes to tank over the next few seasons. I don't think they'll leave tank exactly where tank's at. It's going to be about your like it's kind of like 3 things with tank right now. It's your positioning, your patience with that positioning, and then your decision making based off of what's happening in the team fight. I think a lot of players skip the positioning part and then they start in bad positioning and then go to good position. They don't start with good position and then go to good position. They start with bad positioning and then go there. This is, for example, this is good positioning, right? I'll explain why. You're hiding behind a wall. You have cover. You've gotten rid of some angles. You're in a good spot. Obviously, once you lose up here, this might be tough for you. But overall, like, you are doing what you're supposed to do as a tank right now, where you're holding an area, not trying to, like, just get something done, right? I think once they take top right in you, you're going to run into a slight issue. But, like, from I like your ping there. Oh, you were pinging. You say position is hard to learn, because how can you be aggressive and not get deleted? I know I've paused like 100 times this video, but, like, this is what's cool about this, is, like, I've had so many discussions about tank. Let me ask you this question. You talk about playing aggressive and this and that. Have you, out of curiosity, have you watched any, like, and this is a different example, I know we just had that discussion before. Have you watched, like, pro or, like, scrims or, like, matches of a push map? Like, have you seen, like, the Coliseo strategy? Is anybody seeing that strat on push? Actually, most push maps are running into this right now. And I'm just giving an example of, like, people talk about playing aggressive and, like, all this, and, like, well, how am I supposed to go do that if I need to play aggressive? Yeah, you know what the Coliseo strategy is? You just sit there and do nothing. That's it. So, the point I'm making is that a lot of Season 9 Overwatch, obviously, you see different comps, but, like, in ranked especially, sometimes it's okay to do absolutely nothing on tank. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just have good position and just make it so the other team can't get a free pick on you. If your teammates can hit their shots, then you're in a good spot. If your teammates can put pressure on their tank, you're in a good spot and you can play more aggressive, right? But sometimes it's not right? Like, sometimes just not doing something as tank can be a great play. Yeah, exactly. You wait for something to happen. I'm not saying that's how you want to play that necessarily. I'm saying if you find that as a tank you're in a spot where you can't do anything, sometimes that's okay. I'm not saying you go, hey, I just watched a spectating, and emongg was saying that I should do nothing. No, that's not the case. What I'm saying is if you feel like you're doing nothing but your team is still having success, then you're probably in a fine spot and you don't have to worry about being too aggro. If you're standing still, your teammates are getting picks and you're doing nothing off of that, that's a different story, right? Then like you can look at that and go, okay, I need to be more aggressive because my teammates get this pick. And that's why I always say Overwatch is very situational. It's why we have so many deep discussions about how the game is played, is because there's so many different ways of how the game is played. Different philosophies to how the game is played. It's just, there's so many variations. So that's why I try to like, sometimes people are like, oh, what about this? It's like, sometimes just like having the basics really cemented into how you're playing a game or doing just anything is the best way to start, because then if you try to do too much, then you're overcomplicating everything, right?
Better world is possible today.
Well, I'll be live on YouTube soon. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just like, when I go into like the spectating mode, I just kind of get going, but it will be on, yes. Remember we talked about the cover here. Like right here, right here, you're down one. Remember, you don't have to do too much right now. So if you want, yeah, pressure their backline a little bit, use that bubble, right? If you lose a team fight here, but right now, if you just go, oh, what the heck do I do there? I'm okay with what you just did. What are you gonna do? Dive the brig by yourself? No. You bubble them off, you line of sight of them, you gave your teammates an opportunity. Sometimes as a tank, it's the best thing you can do. Can it be frustrating? Of course, right? If you like, you try to like, you survive long enough, you like make a play and then your teammates die, yes, that is common to happen in Season 9.
Never too late to try again.
So. Out of that one free to play, you can do it. It's gonna take time. A lot of it too is like, you said you're in Bronze 5, right? Like, and once again, chat, sorry for the pause. It's just like, I guess this is a good time to go into like the deeper discussion about stuff while we're getting ready for the mid-season patch today. Like, I think, and I don't know if this is the exact case, so you can, correct me if I'm wrong, etc. But I feel like for you personally, when you're playing in like Bronze 5, a lot of it can just be mechanics too. And what I mean by that is like, you might have a really good understanding. So like, go back and watch a VOD of yourself, and sometimes you can kind of see like, wait a second. When I'm aiming at somebody, my shots are going like to the left by like just a little bit. You go, okay, I'm over aiming. Lower your sensitivity. You go in there, it looks like you're spin botting because your sensitivity is so high. Okay, I lower my sense. Things like that can help you, right? Especially when you're in like Bronze 5, you can kind of do that. So, all right, here we go.
Let's stop that payload.
Honestly, I kind of like the treadmill like recordings because it also, I feel like I'm just really engaged because I'm getting that energy, you know? Even though I usually have the energy. You get what I'm saying, though? That extra energy? Okay. Don't need to bubble that just yet. I'm going to show you why. Okay, you ready, chat? And I don't have the draw tool up. Look at this. Think about where you want to bubble and where your cover is going to be. If you bubble in front of there, you're not going to be able to do anything anyway, unless you get a pick, right? So you want to save your bubble. You can see my mouse, right? You want to save your bubble for this region, this area, because you're going to use your cover anyway. If you bubble here, you're just going to end up in the same spot anyway, right? What mile per hour are we on? 2.3. I got to save the 4 miles per hour for when we do the Ramacho challenge. You see how you're naturally going to that spot I was mentioning? This is what I'm talking about. Do you see? So you could have had a bubble save for that, because like that's where you're going to have the engagement. So understanding where the engagement will happen is huge, right? Your team over ulted at this point, you just got to go in to not get in the limb, just try to poop them off the point, because you ain't getting any limbs there. Now you can get a limbs because your brig's kind of in there. Target focus here. Okay, so I do want to help you a little bit in those situations. If you ever find yourself in a situation where it's like a 3v5, your teammates are committing ultimates, you don't know what to do, go for like a target that you know is going to be a little bit easier to get. Like you were going for the brig, the tracer, like heroes that can get out of there. Your number one target here is either the soldier or the mercy, but then you have to think about the next step of that. Will the soldier get healed? More than likely, go for the mercy. At the very least, what you do is that when the mercy gets out, you have like a time where you can still get back to the point. So what that might do, though, is draw them off the point or go for a hero that you know is going to be a little bit easier to get. And even if you don't get them, that's how you force them off the cart randomly, right? That's how you do all these really cool plays that you wouldn't quite... If you just go for like someone random on the cart, then that's what's going to happen. Now keep in mind, every rank will have that target priority issue, but this is just one of those things where if you need to figure out a default way to go about this, for who you think's the easiest to get, that might force the team to have to react a little bit more aggressively, and that's how you win those fights. But that was a low percentage fight to begin with.
But I am closer.
Goose, thanks for the 6 months to Tierra. Thank you, appreciate it. You're right, that is almost a year. This is 6 months. There an update today at 2 p.m. Eastern.
6 months? That's almost a year. Good morning, emongg.
Good morning, good morning. Marissa. Nice. Good job. Played it patient, didn't overcommit. Good job. You know what I kind of want to do a series of, chat? I want what your thoughts are on this. Let me know, chat. So yesterday, when I was just sitting around, I realized why people liked React content so much, or like when people talk about stuff in the game. I was just sitting there playing WoW, and I'm like, you know, I just want to listen to what people think about SOD. Then I realized I should probably do more videos sometimes where I just talk about like the state of Season 9. Like mid-season patch today, we play the patch tomorrow, we do a video in the morning where I just talk about what I feel about the changes in Season 9 now. Just a general talking about the game. Don't like a default video like, these are the patch notes, these are this, like just talking about Overwatch. And I realized that I should do that more because I get in such deep discussion, so I'm going to start doing that more. It was funny because I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, I found like 8 videos, and I'm like, this is great. I'm like, I'm just sitting here playing a game, listening to it in the background, I love this. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I got to do that more. Just in general. I don't know, so as a little side note. No, I'm not playing cast in the training range, so I'm not going that deep. I'm talking like a 20-minute video. I'm not talking 2.5 hours in the, you know. All right, here we go. Uh-oh, on Zarya now. I've heard things. Zarya's a good hero.
Escort the payload.
I'll try to remember by the time with the video, Nate.
60 seconds.
Sorry for sorry. Hey, look at that. Yeah, exactly. We got Zarya versus Zarya. You know, maybe they have something here. By the way, in this situation, chat, if you're asking, oh, why are you shooting Zarya? That's the correct play right there. You can't go by them. You're basically stuck there. You could, in theory, try to go by the Zarya, but what happens if you try to run by the Zarya? That Zarya's probably just going to turn to you and then shoot at you. And then you're going to fall over. So, if you're just targeting the Zarya there, that's fine. Also, your Winston swap is also fine here. You recognize you can't get past the cart there. Winston against Zarya is good. Winston bashing against Zarya is even better. Believe it or not, Winston is a if you don't know what to go against a Zarya and you don't feel comfortable playing Zarya as much, Winston is a viable option unless they have a bash, right? Or, you know, something ridiculous, but mainly bash. Winston's a very viable choice. And you go, why? What makes Winston so good against Zarya? Your bubble. Believe it or not, your bubble, well, as you waste your bubble, believe it or not, your bubble is really important against just making it so Zarya loses value. It LOS's heals, they can't get charges easy, things like that. They can't get value on their damage. So, yep, just hold left click on the Zarya. I would recommend a deep dive here now with the Moira or bubble off the Zarya. Bubble. Okay, you need to do that way sooner, by the way. I know you got the Elim. The reason why I want you to bubble is because your teammates are ulted in the back. So if you bubble that, the Zarya won't get any value, and the Zarya's also cut off by the heals. You see what I'm saying? So drop a bubble right there, and you're in a good spot. But it needs to be immediate. You're lucky your teammates didn't fall over there. But a bubble alone gets rid of all of that play, and now you can get the Zarya. See what I'm saying? All right? That's where we talk about the decision making. This is a toughie, though, still. Hey, you're fine for now. Use the window, remember. Yeah, well, your BAP just kind of got rolled. Your BAP tried to disengage the cart. I don't really know where to go with this one. I'll be live on YouTube in a bit, yes. Yeah. Okay. Don't be afraid to, like, dive in there to get your ultimate towards the end there, because when they were... See that EMP timing right there? You actually can roll them. Remember, EMP lasts a lot longer now, so you get the value and you're still in the cart. So, there was a time in there where I wanted you to actually do that. So yeah, let's talk, talking about Season 9 and tanks in general, I think your number one issue is just how you're... I want you to stop hard focusing so much on, like, you have to switch 20 times with the tank, and I want you to more focus on your positioning and, like, your decision making. Now, easier said than done. Positioning is going to be the easier thing to work on. Decision making is just, like, simple things like that. Like, your teammate EMPs, you're in range of the cart, you can dive in, you get in the limb, then you get your ultimate, right? Instead, you sit there, you wait, you wait, you wait. At a certain point, it's like, we lost our teammates, we're in overtime spawn. They won't get back in time, even if I get my ultimate here.
Oh,
What's
yeah,
the way you win this? You get in the limb.
resubscribe.
That's the number one step. You get in the limb. Then you create numbers, then you play safer. But, like, that's really what you need to work on. And I think you'll be in a pretty good spot with that. But yes, if you feel like as a tank player it's a little bit more difficult, it is. This season, tanking is a little bit more difficult. There's starting to be ways to figure out how to play tank. A lot of it's playing just more either aggressive as a core or doing nothing. That's a lot of what you have to do. Because you can't take poke damage much anymore. That might change, Season 9. Mid-season patch is out right now in a couple hours. Obviously, I don't know when this video is out, so it could be already out, etc. But, like, we'll see how that changes with the 5% more healing you're going to get, etc. But, yeah, tanking just, you start working on that, focusing on that, I think you'll be in a good spot. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to all 3 YouTubes if you haven't, leave a comment about here's you want to see. Heck, what are some discussions you want to see? What are some takes? That'd be kind of fun, too, to bring in, like, chat comments and, like, kind of, like, make a video on that one. Like I said, I want to do a lot more stuff like that. If you want to submit your own spectating, look in the description below. You'll see my Discord. That's where you would submit those. We also record these live on stream. You can see the Twitch chat right below the webcam. Stop by if you haven't. We have a lot of fun here. Obviously, occasionally there'll be drops and everything, too, so it's good to stop by. And with that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day/night.